Alrighty, so it's actually a couple days later. I ran into some problems getting this thing running. I'm going to go ahead and explain what they were. First things first, when I went to turn the car over, I had no compression at all. I'm like, what's going on? I put it back to top dead center and I checked it out to double check that the cam timing was correct, and it was. So I'm like, alright, what's going on? I'm sitting there looking around, and I was like, well, I know it needs to do a valve adjustment. So I went to grab the rockers, specifically the ones that were on the base circle, and they were tight. They weren't moving at all. I was like, oh, that's the problem. So what I would suggest when you're switching out the cams and whatnot is all the adjusters. Run them all the way down. That way you got enough room to put the cam on. That's probably why I was complaining. It was felt a little tight. That's probably why, because they're all putting tension onto the camshaft. So once I got that figured out, I didn't do like a real adjustment. I just mainly got to where I had a little bit of play in the rocker arms, because I'm button all that up when I verify that the head is sealing to the engine block. I haven't really ran it too much. Then another thing is, when I got all that done, I'm sitting there trying to start it. Still wasn't starting. It was just cranking over. I was like, alright, well, I know it's been sitting undone for a while. So I put a little bit of gas to the PCV hose, because that goes directly to the throttle body. Yeah, it'll fire. It'll fire up, no problem. Well, at least until the fuel in that runs out. So alright, so it's getting the cam timing is correct because it's actually running. It's got spark because it's running, and it's got compression because it's running. Just for some reason it's not, and of course it's got air too, so it's running when I do that. But it's still not running on its own. At first I thought the injectors was just dirty because they've been sitting in the back of the car for what, 2 months or whatnot. But so I'm sitting there running the starter with the screwdriver up to the fuel injectors to see if I hear them clicking, and they're not clicking. So alright, so it's got to be some electrical nonsense going on. I go check all the grounds to make sure I got them all connected, and I did. I took a couple of them off to clean them off, specifically this one, because this one was kind of a weird one that still wasn't running. So I'm sitting there searching for any of them. I'm moving the harness around, and I noticed that this one, which was over here, was loose. Alright, so the ground's loose, so I go tighten it. I go get the 10 mil and tighten it down. The screw was tight, but it was still loose, so the screw was too long for the hole. So I moved it over to here and tightened it down, and then I fired it up for a couple seconds. It was too late to actually run it because I don't have a muffler on it. It's just open headers. So, and like I said, it fired up, no problem after that. So what I'm gonna do now is back it up over the flat spot of the driveway, pop the radiator cap off, and make sure I got all the air bled out of the system. Run it for a while to get everything up to more or less operating temperature, but basically verify that the water and oil isn't mixing. That's my big thing, because like I said, that coolant jacket on near cylinder 5 is, it's got the pitting on it. I just want to make sure it's not giving me an issue. Then I also want to be able to run it with the oil, get circulated, and once I know that all that's good, I'll drain the oil, put the fresh oil in, put the new oil filter, pretty much do an oil change on it, and then when I get the money, I'll get the rest of the muffler exhaust system. And let me go ahead and get this thing moved up and verify everything. Then once I also verify that the engine is pretty much sound, then I'll go ahead and do the valve adjustment. I just gotta find my little feeler gauges before I actually take it out on the road, which is gonna be after I put an exhaust on it, because this thing's pretty loud. So anyway, let me go ahead and do that, then get back to you in a little bit. Alrighty, as you can hear, it's hella loud. So yeah, definitely going to get a muffler for this thing. It's just freaking ridiculous. Woo! But it is running a little lumpy, probably because I don't have the valve adjusted. And also probably because, like I said, those aren't Eagle Lake headers, so it is what it is. I'm going to let it run for a little bit longer. I'm going to turn it off and I'm going to check the oil, make sure it's not milkshake. Everything seems to be working correctly, except my fuel gauge looks to be off. But I don't know, it's good before I take the gas in this thing. Yeah. I'll let you know once I pull that dipstick out and see how bad if it's milkshaked at all. So I'm gonna have to turn it off, let it dip a little bit, then yeah. Right now I just got the over here and the water in the radiator. And yeah. So I'll let you know when I pull that dipstick out, and I'll let you know what's going on after that. Alrighty, so I'm gonna do a valve adjustment on the Z. I recently got it running again with this new M42 head, and it runs kind of like crap. I believe it's because I haven't done the valve adjustment on it. I wanted to verify that everything was working before I really got started on everything. One thing I'm gonna do, I'm gonna recheck the torque on all the head bolts, and even the cam towers, because now that I have clearance on everything, and the torque probably a little more accurate, just to make sure it's safe. Like I said, the head bolts get torqued to 60 foot-pounds, and the cam towers, I believe, get torqued to 10. Like I said, this bolt and this bolt, the threads are damaged on it, so I'm not going to be able to really torque those down too much, but the threads on head bolts are fine, and that should be fine. This is not a race engine. If I were to, do actual force induction, I'll probably get a better N42 head, or even I think even an N47 head, or something like that. Point is, I'll get a different cylinder head. That's more appropriate. Might even think about getting an E88 head and have that modified for EFI, which all you really have to do is drill in holes for the jets on the injectors, the holes for the injectors into the head, have more clearance, and the bolt holes for the EFI intake. But and I also have to use the other thermostat housing that has the cylinder head temperature sensor on the thermostat housing rather than on the side of the engine. But anyway, that's a can of worms for another day. Like I said, I'm going to go over the valve adjustment and retorque the cylinder head. Now, typically, you'll check the valve adjustment when this engine is hot. The problem with that is, once you get up to temperature and you turn it off, you have a very limited window to check everything before it cools down enough to where it throws off the measurements. There is a cold spec too. So this cold spec is for the intake, I believe, is 0.08 inches, where the exhaust is 0.10 inches. And you pretty much go along the lines down the engine and with the fuel gauge and the feel for how much play it is. On the lifters, you got a big bolt, kind of a smaller bolt, and even smaller bolt.
You want to leave this bolt alone for the most part. This is the one you use to unlock the lifter. I believe it's 17 mil. Then there's another little 14 mil on top that actually adjusts the clearance between the lifter, the rocker arm, and the cam lobe. Basically, you want to make sure, of course, you want to go with the spec. The reason why you want to adjust it is if the valves are too tight, as the engine warms up, it could cause one of the valves to hang open a little more, which is what I believe is happening on cylinder 3. I think it's the intake valve, because there's literally no slop in it. When I think it was when this engine is warm, it's holding that valve open too long, and I'm losing compression, and I have a dead hole. Also, if you hold an exhaust cam open too long, exhaust valve open too long, it could burn a valve. And also, you could also risk bending a valve, and it puts more strain on to the cam lobes that could cause them to wear out prematurely. Same thing with the rocker arm. You don't want them too loose to where they start clattering, and you got the little lash pads flinging off as well. You don't want that either. So you want to get that nice sweet spot where you have less noise but more accurate valve clearance, and more accurate valve timing, with just a little bit of clearance to allow for the expansion. Now what you do, typically you want to take the spark plugs out just because it makes the engine much easier to turn. I'm probably going to do that. On this engine is really easy because I haven't put that lift bracket back on, and I don't have the hoses in the way over here either. So I'm probably going to do that. You want to grab your 19 mil wrench to go put on the cam bolt. It might be technically better to spin from the bottom bolt, but of course that's way down here and we're up here. And you want to spin it in the direction of the engine, so that'll mean that you want to spin the engine this way, clockwise. If you're looking from the engine from the front, it'll be clockwise. So that's what you're gonna do. Then you're gonna rotate it to where, like these two are already up where I want, on a base circle, pretty much with the lobe sticking straight up in the air. So I got these two ready. These two are about to be ready, so these will be the next ones I'll adjust. Then it'll be these two over here, etc. You just keep going down the line until you get them all. It will be smart to write everything down. Just remember, it goes exhaust, intake, intake, exhaust, exhaust. Wait, I'm sorry. It's exhaust, intake, intake, exhaust, intake, exhaust, exhaust, intake, exhaust, intake, intake, exhaust. You kind of see it where it lines up with the intake manifold, and the ones that don't line up with the intake manifold, obviously it goes with the exhaust manifold. Well, with that being said, let me go ahead and get this done real quick. Like I said, here's the fuel gauges. A little hard to see on these because these are kind of old. This is my .08 and this is the .09. That way I can make sure that the clearance isn't too much. Because obviously if the .08 doesn't fit, it's too tight. If the .09 fits, that means it's too loose. That would be for the intake, and of course the .010 and the .011 would be for the exhaust. So like that doesn't fit, so that's obviously a problem. And that doesn't fit either. So yeah, I already knew that everything was too tight because of how I put the camshaft in. I didn't run the lifters all the way down, so I knew that was going to be a problem, and I think that's the main reason I'm having running problems. Like inconsistent idle, and it kind of coughs and backfires when I get on the gas, as if it's leaning out, but I don't know, it's got plenty of fuel. I think it's running a little rich. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and get all that done. I'm also gonna, like I said, retorque the cylinder head down just to make sure, especially these bolts, the ones on the cam tails, I think could have been thrown off from the camshaft being too tight. So yeah, let me go ahead and get this pretty much set up, and I'll get back to you guys once it's more or less done. Alright, so I did go along and retorque the cylinder head and everything. Good thing I did, because a couple of them were a little loose. But anyway, I've already started doing the valve adjustment on this valve, because it's already up at top dead center. As you see, I got the point 0.011, and it doesn't fit in there, but the 0.010 fits in there a little snugly. Definitely a little bit of drag, like what you want, but not too much to where you know, you put it in there and you can't get it out. So that's about how you want it to be. Don't be afraid to take a while on this, especially if it's your first time, because you want to get this right, because otherwise you're going to have a bunch of running issues. So anyway, let me go ahead and do this one. This one's an intake, so it's going to be the 0.008 and point with the 0.009. So yeah. Now all I just gotta do is snug it down and recheck it, because sometimes when you snug them down, it does tighten the clearance up a little bit too much. And like I said, move all the way down. So I'll see you once I got pretty much it all taken care of. Alright, it's a little late, as you can see. Ignore that. I think there's a gun range behind my house somewhere. Just letting them guys have fun, so if you hear that, don't be alarmed. Anyway, I got all the valves adjusted. I triple checked them. They're all relatively within spec. I don't mind if they're a little bit on the loose side, as long as they're not too loose. It's just as long as they're not too tight and causing those issues. I don't mind it being a little noisy, because when I put the exhaust on this car, it's probably going to hide most of that. Anyway, now basically just put the valve cover back on, put the spark plugs back in, the spark plug wires, the fuel line, PCV hose, and fire it up and see how much better it is. I'm also got the coolant system draining. I'm going to just put the distilled water and what's it called, vinegar in there, because I think there's some blockage in the radiator causing some issues. I think probably from the thermocure gelling up like it did. I'm not sure what caused that. Maybe there was some residual antifreeze in the block and it had a reaction. I have no idea. But I think there's some of that in the radiator causing it to still not cool down like it's supposed to. Also, the vinegar I think is a little better, a little more aggressive when it comes to attacking the rust. I'm going to throw that in the car and let that do its thing. Well, anyway, let me get this done. Now I'll do the thing with the water and vinegar and call it a night. Alrighty guys, so as you can hear, I got her running. She runs so much better, and I actually got all 6 cylinders now. Before, cylinder 3 was not working because, like I said, the valve lashes were too tight. Now I did put on the Y pipe earlier. That's why it's a little more quiet. Tomorrow I'm gonna get a clamp, that way it can hook up the rest of the back half of the exhaust. That way it'll be where it's supposed to be. The engine still shakes a little bit and it still kind of surges a little bit, but I'm going to do say that's more to do with age rather than probably the age of the fuel, because this car was down for like a month or 2, and modern gas does deteriorate pretty quickly. But she does, like I said, she still does shake a little bit, but not so much to where it's unsteady. She seems to be idling about perfect. And ignition timing, I already checked, is dead on 10 degrees, which is right where I want it. Now, technically the spec is 8 degrees, but that's for emissions. If you want a little bit more power, you bump it up to 10. Yeah, so like I said, all those valves, except for like 2 of them, were way too tight, and the other 2 were a little loose. But yeah, as I said, she seems to be running fine. She rolled up the hill perfectly fine, didn't backfire a cough or anything. I'm going to get some electrical cleaner, clean off that AFM, because there seems to be a dead spot in it. So I think some electrical contact cleaner will clean that up. Then I'll get some silicone to put that cover back onto it and mount it down properly, because right now it's just kind of sitting there. Because I have another one, but I put the other one on and the car definitely did not like it. So yeah, see, the headers are looking great. Clean out the air out of the coolant right now. Seems to be fine. There's definitely a lot of boo-boo in there though. As you can see, I did put the vinegar in there, like a half gallon of vinegar or a full gallon, I don't know. Then I got like a gallon and a half of distilled water. I'm gonna let that sit in there for a little while to hopefully break up some of the gel stuff that's left over from the Thermocure. When I drained it out, of course, it overflew a little bit. I'm not worried about it because that stuff is technically supposed to be biodegradable. But you can see all the crap that came out of the engine. Now, some of it, part of it is just regular dirt, just from the sanding right there, but a lot of that did come out of the engine. And I did get a lot of it out when I scooped up those grease plug areas. But yeah, that's going to do it for today. Next video is probably going to be putting a muffler on this thing, or whatnot. Probably cleaning things up a little bit, and hopefully driving around a little bit. Let y'all know what to do. Like, comment, subscribe. Put my Instagram in the description. And be safe, have fun, and just stay tuned for more videos. Got more videos coming out for this. Got some coming for the Dakota. The Buick's not here right now because that's my mom's car. I got a video coming out for that. And yeah, just stay tuned. See you in the next video. Got some bad news, guys. Cylinder head is absolute garbage. One, it doesn't run right. Even though with the higher compression, it still car doesn't seem to have any power. But first couple days driving it, it was fine once I got everything figured out. But just took it about up to the store, which is only like 3 miles away and back, and started getting a little hot again. And got some really bad news. Yeah, so this cylinder head is definitely no good. So I'm definitely going to put the old cylinder head back. Like I said, I guess that damage is just a little bit too much, which I kind of figured, but I figured I'll try it out anyway because it will only cost me like $150 plus an oil change. So not too worried about it. Car still isn't making any weird noises that's not supposed to. It is smoking off the tailpipe, which is indicative of a bad head gasket, of course, with the milkshake too. So not a big deal. Still get another gasket sit, throw the other cylinder head back on. Like I said, I'm pretty sure the majority of the overheating was to plug all the rust scale on the other side of the engine. Because yeah, and I'll get some degreaser, clean everything up, clean all the rust scale off the radiator from when I was trying to purge it. And yeah, I'm just pulling this battery out so the car doesn't drain the battery. For some reason this car has a parasitic draw on it. I don't know from what. Haven't gotten that researched that yet, or figured that out yet. So I'm gonna pull the battery out, put it on the trickle charger so it just stays charged, and go from there. I get paid tomorrow, so I'll probably order the gasket kit tomorrow. I'll do the same thing, the head gasket, intake exhaust gasket, whatever. And get the oil,
an oil filter. Probably also get a fuel filter too, maybe. Definitely get some degreaser. That way I kind of clean all this stuff up. The cylinder head bolts should be fine. They're not torque to yield. And since they're brand new, I'm not going to worry about them being worn out or anything. So, that's that. And yeah, let's go from there. So, it is a bummer, but not a big deal. The truck still runs pretty well, so at least I got that for me. And with the yellow cylinder head, if I decide to run boost on it, I know I'll be able to safely run like 10 psi. I know with this cylinder head, technically I'll be able to as well, but because the way that the exhaust ports are designed, where they got kind of looked like it was modified to run with the round port exhaust manifold, I'll be worried about it causing too much turbulence and causing a lot of heat on the exhaust gas, a lot of exhaust gas heat. So not a big deal. This is not a race car anyway, even though it looks like one. It's not a race car. It's literally just trying to get running good enough because the gas is getting kind of crazy right now, and the truck takes a lot of gas. So trying to daily drive that thing is ridiculous. I kind of want to bounce off back and drive this a couple of days and drive the truck a couple of days, you know, something like that. Or depending on what I feel like. And yeah. So that's pretty much the end of the series right now, I guess. I will post a video of when I put the other cylinder head back on and driving down the road and all that. That way I'm not leaving this off on the negative air. But honestly, I kind of saw it coming from a mile away when I saw that damage around those water jacket ports. I kind of figured this was going to give me a problem. Anyway, see y'all in the next clip.